A third straight overtime win for the Minnesota Wild with a very tough schedule on the way. Playoff hockey is here. We recap a great weekend for the Wild and look ahead today on Locked on Wild.
You're Locked on Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Locked on Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked on Wild your first listen every day. And just as a reminder, Locked on Wild is free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. On today's episode of Locked on Wild, we recap a thrilling weekend for the Wild with overtime wins against Columbus, overtime win against Colorado, an overtime win against Vancouver, all on the docket as we look ahead as well to a finish to the homestand and a gauntlet road trip coming up as well. My name is Seth Topal, host of Locked on Wild, your captain. There we go. Make sure to follow me on Twitter to join us in this journey through the 2021-2022 season. And also joined by my Monday co-host, Alex Micheletti. A victory Micheletti Monday. Should mention as well, today's episode of Locked on Wild is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. We bring in our Monday guest, Alex Micheletti. And Alex, playoff hockey is here. Overtime wins left, right, and everywhere. Wild are buzzing again. It seems like they got that mojo back and are just firing on all cylinders again.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mentioned, on Twitter, I said the Marc-Andre Fleury trade might be the best thing to ever happen to Cam Talbot, and he's won 8 in a row. So it's impressive. And to take down the team like Colorado. I mean, without him, the game would have been, just a blowout by Colorado, and he kept the Wild in it early, and they had some late magic, once again, just incredible.
And that's like first and foremost, the Colorado Avalanche are the best team in the NHL for a reason.
Yeah,
and you have to kind of weather some of that. If you're going to contend with them and win games, you have to weather some stretches of them just owning play, because that's just what they do. They've done that to everybody this season. Mm-hmm. And it just seems like the acquisitions that the Wild made at the deadline set them up to be able to do that, because it was a very physical game. It brings a stretch of very physical hockey, but you look at these 3 games, Vancouver, Columbus, and Colorado, very playoff style wins for the Wild, and no coincidence that they won all 3, because they're looking like they are a fully irritating playoff team that is capable of making some big noise once we get the playoffs started.
Yeah, they matched the physicality. You nailed it. It's playoff hockey's rough and tough, and not a ton of space out there, and they capitalized at the right times. For example, today with Colorado, like you said, they had dominating stretches, but a guy like Darcy Kemper, he was on tonight, but he's capable of letting goals in, and they picked the right spots, and what more can you say about Kirill too? I mean, he just it's some of these games, recently, it seems like he has the will to just try to bring the entire team to win the game, and Matt Zuccarello was an absolute beast too. Setting up both of the goals right at the end there. The passes were just just incredible. I mean, his vision is some of the best in the league, and The play to Fiala, just just seeing Fiala's reaction was just great. And what's different about this Wild team in previous like eras or regimes, the team chemistry just seems all together. There doesn't seem to be like a whole lot of egos, and Billy G just continues to make the right acquisition, acquiring the right guys, and it might not be the high end, like superstars. It's not a Claude Giroux, but he acquired guys that really, filled needs. Middleton is the type of guy that you want, and for playoff hockey. Same with Delorier. If he gets in the lineup, if not, he's there in case you need him for a physical game. And then Fleury, he's won Stanley Cups. He'll be in the Hall of Fame, and he's there if they want to use him, come playoff time too. And I think they have two goalies now that they can fully trust, because I don't know if they really 100% had faith in Capo if he had to play in the playoffs. And so they filled all the needs they needed, and Tyson Jost looked really good tonight too against his former team. And it's just an exciting time for the Wild, and hopefully they can continue with these next couple of home games, get 2 wins.
I have no idea what the goalie splits are going to look like the rest of the way, but the Wild do for sure have 5 back-to-backs the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So Marc-Andre Fleury is for sure getting 5 starts.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I would imagine it'd be more than that, but I had a chance to go to the game and see it in person, and for one, it still to me is super intimidating to watch a hockey game like without the camera following the action. Like you're like, where do I look?
It's
like,
intense.
what do I do? But some things that I pulled away, like Jordan Greenway there is a difference with Jordan Greenway that a lot of people have pointed to, and he led the Wilds onto the ice, like into the Colorado zone multiple times, and was getting shots on net. And so Bill Guerin, I think, is right and was right to sign Greenway to an extension, because it seems like he has taken a huge step forward this season, and that continued. I thought he had a great game, despite the couple of penalties that he took. I thought he had a great game against the Avalanche.
Yeah, he was wound up. You could see how intense his eyes were. It was one of the funniest moments of the game. They showed on the broadcast when Dumba got in the fight with McKinnon. He had the biggest grin on his face. It was awesome. They also showed in the broadcast after the fight, Middleton and Spurgeon went into the box and gave him a pound. It was quite the moment. But Greenway was really physical in the Columbus game too. It's when he plays, with some juice, with some intensity. He's a completely different player, and it's nice to see him finally use his size. Because not many players in the league have a frame like his, and so when he decides to be fully engaged, he's quite the hockey player, especially on a line with Eck and Foligno, the Grief line. So they can wear down teams for sure.
And it definitely seemed like they both wore down, and I think they frustrated the Avalanche with just not being able to do a lot of the things that they normally do out on the ice. And so, if that's the style that the Wild are going to need to play to come away with wins, and so we're fully here for it. There are some things that continue to frustrate. I got a couple of things that I want to dive in on, such as face-offs.
Yeah, that was going to be my answer.
The power play.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about a couple of other things too. Just some things that we continue to see pop up that need to be fixed. So we'll continue to kind of dive in and recap the weekend with Alex Micheletti next here on Locked on Wilds. The month of March is almost over and spring is in full swing. So if you are trying to look a little better, eat a little healthier, Built Bar is here to help. If you're looking for a new twist on your favorite Built Bar flavors, try their Puffs. If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. As with most Built Bars, Puffs as well contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to your favorite candy bar, which is around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So if you want a healthy treat and want to get in on the Built Bar madness, head to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Again, use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Continuing today's episode of Locked on Wild, again, thank you for making Locked on Wild your first listen each and every day. Seth Topol, joined by Alex Micheletti. Alex, that power play is something. And here's the frustrating part is first power play against the Avs. Just a disorganized mess. Can't get the puck into the zone cleanly.
No.
You got guys running into each other because nobody knows where they're supposed to be, which I think stems from the fact that we're still seeing like the line pairings, both forwards and defensemen, just thrown out there because this team is trying to play 5-on-5 on power plays, and it leads to just like they didn't for the first power play. I don't think they even sustained zone presence until like a minute 45 had passed.
Yeah, it's extremely frustrating. That has to be the number one thing that has to be cleared up for the playoffs because, like we talked about, it is so tight come playoff time, and you need to be able to capitalize on special teams, and especially with the gauntlet that the Wild will have to get through to try to get to the Cup. You're going to have to play Calgary or Colorado at some point, and Calgary scored 9 goals last night. So, I mean, it just, it's a buzzsaw trying to get through this West. So, yeah, they're definitely going to have to clean it up, figure out how to, just at least get the puck into the zone. That seems to be tough to just try to get it in the offensive zone. And so that's definitely something they're going to have to get cleared up.
Because then, like, you go to the next one where Kaprizov scored.
Yeah,
you're doing actual power play things. Like
right.
They got the puck to behind the net where they're great at, and they passed it to one side, and Kirill got the feed and was able to capitalize from that. Just I don't know how people can score goals from that spot.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's basically parallel to the crease and just scores. But then, so you got that, and then you have in overtime where they go Fiala, Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek, and Hartman. And that surprised even Dean Evison. And listening to the post-game comments, he was like, when I saw that there was no defenseman out there, I was like, oh, well, there are too many good players on this team to not be able to score on the power play. And so I think one of the things is that this team needs to stop having like a power play 1 and a power play 2. Just have a good number 1 that you throw out there every time. And Joel Eriksson Ek needs to be on it. Kirill Kaprizov needs to be on it. Kevin Fiala needs to be on it. And beyond that, you put a defenseman out there, you put Matt Zuccarello out there, and you just go at teams.
Yeah, 100%. Also, can we thank Eric Johnson for making just another boneheaded mistake? It just seems like he's going to cost that Colorado team. And we can't forget he was the number 1 overall pick too. So it was a boneheaded mistake. Thank God. Because in overtime, 4-on-3, you got so much more space, and so it was nice. Nice that carries over, and what a play by Zuccarello to Fiala, and just hammered it home past Kemper got over, and he almost got it, but the shot was just perfect.
I don't like to harp on this because it's such a variable thing, but against a team like the Avs, it feels like those are the specific cases where you need to dominate in the face-off circle. And the Wild held their own. It was pretty even, 50-50 or maybe slightly above or below that. But you look at how the Avalanche scored, and it was 2 set plays off of face-off wins that led to the goals. And that's the point where you kind of, you caps lock on the keyboard when you're tweeting, and you're like, just win a face-off and get it out of the zone.
Well, Kadri's goal, I mean, McKinnon was in the box, and they still that was an incredible play by Kadri. He's having a heck of a season. I don't think he'll be the Avs will be able to re-sign him. So hopefully he goes out east, because Kadri's he's putting his name up there for the MVP. Which is just crazy. You would never think that, but I mean, the guy's over 80 points now, so it's just phenomenal season for him. Stick taps for him to kind of cleaning up his image this season, because he's been suspended a bunch in the past, and so he's definitely going to cash in July for sure. But it was just frustrating. They had Tyson Jost trying to take draws against Kadri, and it wasn't going good. It wasn't going well. I don't know. That's definitely something. You can't have those types of goals right off face-offs, come playoff time for sure. It's just demoralizing.
I know the Avalanche scored a power play goal.
Yeah.
But I think I'm confident enough to say that the penalty kill has taken major strides forward.
Yeah.
And it just stems to being aggressive.
Yeah.
Not sitting back and waiting for the other team to do their thing. Go meet them at the point of attack. And, props to whichever coach on the staff. I don't know exactly who it would be, but props to whoever pointed to that and said, we just need to do this because, yes, teams are still scoring power play goals, but the Avalanche are one of the best power play units in the league. And so even having that one goal, I still thought the penalty kill looked really good.
I mean, Nathan McKinnon did nothing tonight. You didn't hear his name much other than the fight. They did a phenomenal job on him. Cale Makar, it seemed like he never left the ice, and he didn't, he was very quiet. So, I mean, they did a really good job of, trying to slow the power, of that team down. Mikko Rantanen had a nice goal, but I mean, they kept it, when things are looking just grim in the second period. Again, I don't know what's with this team in the second periods, but they seem to just all hell breaks loose in the second period, and then in the third period they come alive. So if they can get their second periods figured out too, that then they wouldn't have to worry about trying to make these comebacks at the end.
Cale Makar, by the way, 28 minutes 54 seconds, and Devon Taves had 28 minutes and 5 seconds.
He was good tonight. Yeah, he was physical. He was really getting into it with a bunch of Wild guys.
Definitely did not come off the ice. Old friends Nico Sturm had 13 minutes 41 seconds of ice time.
Yeah, he was getting in some scrums, and I thought, I was looking at the Wild guys. I was like, I don't think they're going to try to fight Nico Sturm. I saw him right with Marcus Foligno one time. I was like, oh boy, but that was, it's just so weird to still, see him in a different jersey. Weird to see Tyson Jost in a Wild uniform, but it seems like, he's really been embraced well with the Wild, and that's, I bring up team chemistry again. The new guys are, just fitting in right away. You saw Middleton give Dumba the pound after the fight, and so the most shocking thing is Delorier has not gotten in a fight yet with
I know.
And hopefully it happens at home, because then the X will will just lose their mind. So we'll spoke. So I'm just looking forward to that day for sure.
Yeah, Delory is just a maniac. Like I was fixated on watching him on the ice, and he's super physical, and
I thought
adds an
tonight,
element.
yeah, I thought tonight it could have happened just because he was on a podcast with Mike Russo, that Mike does, and that was a hell of an interview, and he talked about who he thought some of the toughest guys in the league were, and he brought up Reeves and Lucic, the usual suspects, but then he talked about Curtis McDermott, who was defenseman for the Avs, and I really thought he would try to ask him to fight tonight, but maybe they told him to reel it in a little bit, but yeah, we'll see. I think we're bound at some point. I'm sure the Wild will play some awful teams coming up here where somebody will just try to be a knucklehead and challenge him to a fight, and good luck.
Tuesday.
Yes, yeah, Philly definitely could be that opponent. So, and they have some guys. So
if it doesn't happen Tuesday, it's going to, like, I'm just going to make a call here. There will be a fight on Thursday against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, there's some some tough guys on that squad too. So Brian Boyle, and so yeah, we'll see. It'll be let's hope for one just for entertainment purposes.
Yeah, we just want to see, and I mean Dumba's fight, like,
yeah, I was shocked.
Cow.
I mean, he got Mikko good, and it was clean. And Mikko Rantanen, and yeah, I was shocked that McKinnon, said, "Hey, let's drop him." But that's a win-win for the Wild. Took McKinnon out for 5 minutes, and so hey, when he's off the ice, that that's a win for the Wild for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Final thing before we take a peek into next week, we saw Marc-Andre Fleury's debut against Columbus. I thought he looked great. And even though Talbot gave up 2 goals against the Avalanche, I thought that was far and away his best start of the season. And so it looks as though after that stretch in which I harped on it, I think on a daily basis on this show, goaltending, it looks like everything is back on track, because I think the defense has gone back to where we normally would expect them to be in front of the goalies. But Talbot, for sure, has picked up his performance, and Fleury slotting in. That seems to be back on track. They both look confident.
It was a really good move by Dean tonight, I think, to sit Alex Goligoski against a team like Colorado. I think that was a brilliant move. And the rotation has worked so far between sitting, Kulikov, Merrill, Goligoski, and this was the right time to sit Goligoski, just because Colorado's the fastest team in the league, and Goligoski's it seems like he's a little worn out, and I think the pace would have been an issue for him tonight, and so props to Dean to doing that. And but you got a rock solid 1-2 for goalies, or as some of the guys said on the team, a 1A and a 1B, or basically 2 1s, and so it all starts from the back end, and getting the D pairings correct now has been great. And you have Dumba and Brodin have so much chemistry together, and I think Spurgeon's going to love playing with Middleton, just like Erik Karlsson did in San Jose. And then you just kind of rotate that bottom pairing, based off matchup like tonight. And I thought Kulikov was great, and so it was nice to see the D have a pretty solid game for the most part.
And there will be opportunities for Goligoski. Like when we play St. Louis for one, when you play them in the playoffs, you're going to need some guys that can kind of anchor in and absorb hits.
Yes,
because that St. Louis team is.
It'll be a war. That's probably going to be the first round matchup, and it'll be an absolute war between the Blues and the Wild. And you'll probably have Jordan Bennington, just causing a ruckus too. He likes to chirp, and so yeah, they've had playoff series with the Blues in the past, and the Blues have given them a ton of trouble. Thanks Jake Allen for looking like a Vezina winner against the Wild few years ago. And they also traded for Micheletti. So, seeing Micheletti in a Blues uniform is still so weird. Luckily for the Wild, the Blues weren't able to make many moves. I don't think Micheletti was the savior, but they needed another defenseman. But they definitely needed to make more moves than they did, and so that could actually really help the Wild, make it a little bit more even.
Let's finish up by looking at what we got this week, because we got the Claude Giroux-less Flyers.
Yeah.
Although they do have Owen Tippett.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the start of a daunting road trip over the weekend. We'll do that to finish off today's episode of Locked on Wilds after this. Final segment of today's episode of Locked on Wild. Again, thank you for making Locked on Wild your first listen every day. Hit the 20,000 download mark for the third consecutive month here over the weekend. So props to all of you listeners for making this such a fun show to do on a daily basis. And we finish today's episode by looking ahead to matchups this week against the Philadelphia Flyers and the Pittsburgh Penguins, and then a weekend start of a 4-game road trip at Carolina, at Washington, at Nashville, at St. Louis. But let's start with the Flyers. No Claude Giroux. They did bring in Owen Tippett, as I mentioned, but Philadelphia, I think now, I don't want to get myself nominated for the preposterous statement tournament, but maybe a more dangerous team, because without Claude Giroux, it feels like a team that just plays like they have nothing to lose, because they really don't.
Oh, 100%. They just, if you take a look at their past couple games, they've actually been scoring quite a bit, and they beat the Blues. They beat the Blues pretty solidly. Now some of their guys are starting to score a little bit more, and Travis Konechny and, Cam Atkinson, James Van Riemsdyk. So they still have some talent up front forward. You mentioned Owen Tippett. Their goaltending is not great. Martin Jones and Carter Hart. So that's where they kind of, Philly can let in a lot of goals. They gave up a ton today against Nashville. But it's a team that has nothing to lose, So, if you can get on them early and try to bury them, then it can be to a blowout and, cause a lot of power plays. And so hopefully the Wild can do that, get an early one, and, get the crowd into it. Like the crowd was tonight. It was, absolutely electric. And so, yeah, that's a must win game. Just with where we are in the season, you have to beat the two Pennsylvania teams for sure.
Yeah, I fully agree. We go from that to the Pittsburgh Penguins, who just hung an 11-piece on the Detroit Red Wings, and Mo Seider deserves better. He was a -3 in 20 minutes, but Alex Nedeljkovic gave up 7 goals in that game, and then was pulled, and then the Red Wings still gave up 4 goals after that.
Yeah, that's a nightmare team defensively. So
Yikes!
It's crazy. Yeah, Malkin had a hat trick after missing previous game from being sick, and so then he comes back and gets a hat trick. No biggie. That Pittsburgh team can be a wagon. They still have Sid. Brian Rust is having an incredible season. Chris Letang still a rock star on the back end. One of my favorites, Teddy Bluger, former Maverick, Minnesota State Maverick. He had another big game today, a goal, and so yeah, they're a fun team to watch. It doesn't seem like ages ago when they played Pittsburgh earlier, and Adam Beckman was on the Wild. It's just this season can be a roller coaster, and all sorts of moments that you're like, what? Adam Beckman was on the team earlier this year.
Was that even?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. That was in Philly too, or sorry, in Pittsburgh. And
Oh my God, that was oh wait, no, I was looking at the wrong day. Yeah, that where did it go? I'll find it here. Continue.
But yeah, just yeah, when you find that, it's gonna be a really fun matchup. That's a team that I think you can get to too, with their goalies. I don't think Tristan Jarry is anything special, or if it's Casey DeSmith. Either one can score quite a few goals on, and yeah, it's it should I think it'll be a high scoring game, and it'd be really interesting to see if they play Fleury against against the Penguins. I think he would be very motivated, and that would be fun to see him play against Pittsburgh for sure.
I did find it, and it was back on November 6th.
Yeah, doesn't that seem so long ago?
God, like Ryan Hartman scored with 3 seconds to play in that game. The Wild
scramble behind the net, and yeah, it was crazy.
The Wild were down 2 goals. Jared Spurgeon scored, and then Hartman scored, and the Wild got the game winner in the shootout from Nick Bjugstad.
yeah, bar down. It was a beautiful shootout goal. Yeah, just crazy. And that was Bjugstad. He was a former Penguin too, so that was a little revenge game for good old Nick, who's now been sitting in the press box. So yeah, like I said, roller coaster, so many different moments, guys that you were like, they were on the team, it's like, it's crazy.
And then that begins a 4-game road trip at Carolina, at Washington, at Nashville, at St. Louis.
Those are some great teams. Holy buckets. That Carolina game earlier, a couple weeks ago, that was just a phenomenal game by the Wild, and that's a fun team to watch. They have Svechnikov and Sebastian Aho, Teravainen. The back end is pretty good. Tony DeAngelo and Brady Shea, Minnesota boy, and the goaltending, Freddie Anderson's been pretty rock solid. So that one's tough. And then you get Ovi, Ovechkin, and that crew, and Backstrom and Kuznetsov. Those guys are just wagons, and they had an entertaining game against the Wild, a couple weeks ago as well. And so just getting through that is going to be a challenge. And Nashville seems to have the Wild's number right now, and Roman Yossi's playing at just a freak level. I think he went above 80 points, today. Just absurd as a defenseman. What him and Cale Makar are doing to the league right now. It's just insane. And then St. Louis, those games are always just chaos. So quite a stretch coming up.
It seems like. Now, we obviously haven't played the Blues other than just the one time in the Winter Classic, in which Wild were missing a bunch of pieces. But it seems like Nashville is kind of doing the St. Louis thing this year that the Blues did previously. And so I don't know what it is. They're a tough matchup, but I think now we just need Nick Delorier to get into a bunch of fights, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, just set the vibes, set the chaos vibes. Yeah. We love to see it. So, I'm in.
Maximum Chaos Overdrive. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up here for today's episode of Locked on Wild. Good luck, though, to the Mavericks in the Frozen Four. Getting there, they'll take on the Gophers. Should be a good one. And then you get Michigan, Denver, and the other one. It should be an epic Frozen Four. So it's either way. However, the championship matchup, we're guaranteed to have a Minnesota team in the championship game. So that's really cool. A lot of future NHL talent, that we'll be talking about on future Locked On Wild podcasts. Looking forward to the Frozen Four for sure. Absolutely. We'll have to see if we can get somebody on to discuss it. Yes. Yeah. The expert. Can't wait to talk about it. So go Mavericks. It'd be really cool as an alum to see them win it all for the first time and bring a
bring a title down to southern Minnesota. I think it'd be just cool for that community and area for sure.
A fitting start to championship trophies being being
Best time of the
displayed
year,
in Minnesota this year. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. If you are not yet a follower of Locked On Wild, make sure that you do so to stay up to date with everything that we do all throughout the week. We've got new episodes every Monday through Friday to keep you up to date with all things Minnesota Wild hockey. Follow us on social media. Follow us wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow us everywhere so that you don't miss out on anything going on with your favorite team here in the state of hockey. You can find more coverage of the NHL through Locked On NHL, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network.